Oh, hey. Glad to see you again. I think we had such a positive experience last week, don't you? But there's been something pressing on my mind, and something I've been thinking about a lot. It's us. So why don't we jump right into it? Okay, take a deep breath. Friends. For better or for worse, friends seem to be an inescapable quirk of life as we know it. They come in all shapes and sizes. Some people have many friends, while others find it very difficult to even make the faintest of connections with anyone. There are even these things called best friends. Married couples will often describe their spouse as their best friend, while regular best friends might describe their relationship as purely platonic. It's a confusing set of boundaries and conditions that I have a really hard time deconstructing. For instance, you're my best friend, but only because you're my only friend. And I'm not quite sure if our relationship is platonic, as you don't talk back to me, but I also know that we aren't married. See how confusing this can all be? In 2021, the American Survey Center stated that only 13% of Americans had 10 or more close friends, compared to folks in the 90s who at 33% found that they had 10 or more close friends. While these numbers might seem dire, consider how much easier it is now to decide who is your best friend with these more limited options. Even so, why is it so hard for me? I guess I should try to figure out why we, as a species, even need friends. One thing that friends provide is a sense of being seen, a personal validation of our own existence and personality. It's not even a terribly unique quality of life on Earth. The most attention-retentive creatures tend to be the ones with creative dances and natural flair. They then have many potential best friends, the sexual kind. Plants too. The sweeter the smelling, the more bees seem to want to lay on it and do things with it. But it occurs to me that mammals, insects, and plants do not have some of the more peculiar problems with friendships that we do. A bee never breaks up with a flower after spending Thanksgiving with your family. And a peacock never gets on a 3-hour phone call to discuss the myriad of ways that the other has disappointed them. Considering the ramifications of being vulnerable with even one person, it's hard to imagine that any of us could potentially be friends. To be seen, we must express. But expression forms a membrane of liability, creating a multiplicity of opinions that proliferate into thousands of other opinions, while the initial expression is lost to time and buried in dust. But this ability to discuss and express gives us the unique ability to be seen and see others, to form connections. It's circular and, quite frankly, frightening. So when I think about those 49% of adults with 3 or fewer close friends, I think how lucky. We're so lucky that any of us manage such deep connections in our lives. I often think about that tree that fell with nobody around to hear it, alone and desperate to reach to the top of the crowded woods to be seen by the sun, but it didn't have enough energy, so it rooted itself into the ground further and further in search for life-nourishing water. But there was only so much water spread about the soil, and eventually it got tired, wilted, and collapsed. It stopped receiving attention from the insects. Animals who once called it home left, and the earth ate it up. I think about that a lot, just as I think about myself. So I guess I'll leave you with this. While I may not be your best friend, the least I can do is hear you, and I hope you hear me. Well, thanks for being here with me, and I'll see you next week.